Hello guys, this is Cezary Zieniuk. I'm the International Tax Advisor at IBCCS.TAX, and this video is related to doing business in United Arab Emirates. We'll describe why is it worth to do business in UAE and which types of business entity or which types of legal form of doing business you should choose in order to start your business within UAE. So let's start with the first question. Why should someone set up a business in UAE? Well, there are plenty of benefits. One of the main ones are tax incentives. So UAE is a very tax-friendly jurisdiction. As we mentioned in the other video, there is zero personal income tax rate, so individuals relocating here can benefit from totally tax-free environment. And if we are describing doing business, because this is the topic of our video, it's still possible to have 0% corporate income tax rate. As you know, 1 year ago in 2023, UAE introduced corporate taxation, and the corporate tax is 9%, which is still one of the lowest in the world, and it's definitely worth to pay this 9% of corporate income tax for the infrastructure that you get. But still, there are plenty of businesses and activities within UAE that have exemption from tax, so it's still possible to do business with zero tax rate. There is also very low VAT rate of 5%, and it only relates to goods and services sold within UAE. So actually the fact that UAE introduced the VAT a few years ago does not affect doing business internationally at all, because as you know, there is no VAT on the services or goods provided to businesses located outside. So if a UAE company sells services to a Cyprus company, a Polish company, or business in Hong Kong, for example, we are not subject to VAT. So tax environment is the most important benefit, and we are tax advisors, so it's especially crucial for us. And of course, UAE and Dubai as the most cosmopolitan city, both for social life and for doing business, offers plenty of other benefits. Another important factor why somebody should do business in UAE and why it's so flexible is the privacy. So in a lot of countries all over the world, you have public registries of directors, shareholders, beneficial owners, etc. And for some people, this might be not the most beneficial thing, because they don't, although they have nothing to hide, they don't want to disclose to everyone that they own a business, how much money they make, etc. In UAE, this was solved in a very good way, because although there are registries of directors, UBOs, shareholders within the authorities, these are not public. So if somebody will search your company, they will probably not find out who is the owner or who is the director, which is a very good thing, and which maintains privacy for high net worth individuals and for millionaires and people who are wealthy, because ultimately they are also coming to UAE, to Dubai, to take care about their privacy. Another important thing to be considered when setting business in UAE is an amazing infrastructure for doing business. So the government is working in a very efficient way. You can literally set up a business in 1 to 3 days. The procedures are not very bureaucratic, and everything is electronic, and you can really see that when you are here. There are also plenty of other incentives and infrastructure which is important for the business. It's very easy to find an office for rent. The real estate infrastructure is amazing. It's a growing market, and it's not that hard to find the real estate for your business, and it's actually not that expensive as people say. So you can rent an office for even less than 1,000 euros per month. And obviously there is plenty of other infrastructure related to the business. There are plenty of conferences, co-working spaces, events, and basically everything that the business needs to be run. Also, when we're discussing the business of manufacturing, production, trading, etc., Dubai and UAE offers free zones, and within these free zones there are amazing facilities that are actually helping the businesses to be run. So we'll cover the setup of the business in the free zone and what kind of facilities it offers. But in general, there are almost no places in the world where the government created free zones or economic zones or facilities that are actually aimed to help the businesses, like warehouses, trading facilities, production facilities, even training centers. Another important aspect of doing business is banking. So UAE, as you know, has the safest banking environment in the world. There are plenty of big banks, the safety is on the top level, there is private banking, wealth management and all the services small businessmen or ultra high net worth individuals might need. And also recently first EMI was introduced to UAE, which actually makes the banking services and the facilities even more efficient. I myself have opened accounts for our firm, for our clients, and it literally can take even 1-2 days. UAE and especially Dubai, which is not a capital, but it's a city mostly chosen by investors and businessmen, it also offers a great business environment. It's not, as many people say, a city on the desert with just skyscrapers, nothing happening. This is exactly opposite. So there are plenty of events, conferences, business networking, and most importantly, the type of people that are living in Dubai are usually businessmen or investors or people who are coming for retirement and just receiving passive income. So when going to these events or when just mingling around business infrastructure, you can meet plenty of investors, famous people, influencers, businessmen, millionaires, even billionaires. And as an interesting fact, Dubai, which has a population of approximately 3 million people, has more than 72,000 millionaires. It's probably one of the only countries in the world, if not the only country in the world, with such a population of rich people, strictly speaking. And as you can imagine, since there are so many of millionaires and wealthy people in UAE, they are going to different events and it's not difficult to meet them, and actually they're all very open. So also for this purpose, if somebody is planning to start a business, it's probably a great place to find an investor, to search for funds, and of course to make business connections. So now let's describe what are the main legal forms of doing business in UAE. So what are types of companies or establishments you can choose in order to start your business within UAE. So we'll be discussing sole proprietorship, so doing business as individual, companies registered in the free zones, mainland LLCs, and lastly offshore companies. So let's start with the first type of the business, which is individual entrepreneurship or sole proprietorship. So this is the business that is run by the individual. In this case, you must be a resident of UAE in order to perform this business. And as the name says, you do business as the individual, as a physical person. It might be a good regime for people who just want to start a business and test how it will work, and they do not want to set up a company for some specific reasons. But you need to have in mind, since this is an individual entrepreneurship, the legal liability of the business is totally on the physical person. So if you lose the case in the court, or if you have some legal issues with the business, or if you have high exposure to the risk, you will be liable with all your assets and income and money if you lose a case. So although it sounds like an easy way to do business, we usually don't recommend it, because legal protection is one of the reasons actually why would you set up a business. So it might be a good regime for maybe some real estate agents who are acting as individuals, for photographers, for architects, for people like that who don't have high risk appetite. But again, things can happen in the business with the partners, with the clients, so we do not recommend it. It's much better to register a company, because the fees and the prices and the accounting and tax obligations are practically the same, and here you have legal protection and actually better reputation. So foreigners can also set up a sole trading business. However, as we mentioned, they must reside in UAE, they must have a relevant visa, and they also need a local service agent to set it up. So it's not possible to be registered by yourself. Now let's describe the second type of doing business, which is the Mainland LLC, a limited liability company. This is a very popular form of doing business here, because it allows doing business, providing services and trading with UAE and with Emirati citizens, with Emirati companies, which not all the businesses allow. For example, free zone companies or offshore companies, in certain cases, they cannot do business within UAE. So this is definitely an entity that should be established for somebody that is trying to open a local physical business within UAE or having UAE clients. And quite recently, there were changes in the legislation that allowed 100% ownership of the local LLC by the foreign investors or shareholders. So nowadays, for most of the business activities, not for all of them, it is possible to register the company as a foreigner. And before that, it was obligatory in order to set up a local LLC by the foreigner to have a local sponsor, so an Emirati citizen in this case having at least 50% of the shares. Now we are often asked, is it possible to register an LLC in mainland UAE remotely? No, this is not the case. In order to register the LLC, you must be physically present in the country. And usually you must get a visa, Emirate ID, and go through the process of obtaining the residency in order to set up the LLC. So in comparison, for example, with free zone companies or with offshore companies, this is a little bit more difficult to be registered and more time consuming. However, on the other hand, the reputation is a little bit better, because if you do business within the UAE or if you do business in the GCC region, some people might prefer to do business with the local LLC and not with the offshore company or with the free zone company. And of course, by having a company in mainland UAE, you can employ people. And this is also a myth that employment in UAE is bureaucratic and that it's expensive to hire staff here. It's not. You can have full-time employees for as much as an equivalent to 1,000 euros a month. So actually many people set up call centers and outsourcing services businesses within UAE because the salaries are not that high as people say. And there are plenty of people who are looking for work, and it's very easy to employ people. So I definitely recommend it for anyone that is trying to build teams as well, not only to do remote business. Another thing you should consider when opening a local LLC is an office. So you do need a substance to open the LLC. You need to obtain a document called Ejari, which in other words is confirmation of the tenancy agreement. So as you can see, you need to actually rent an office. And of course we can connect you with the relevant business centers or real estate agents so that you can make your business happen. Also in terms of banking, LLC is probably the best entity to be incorporated because the entity is local. Usually the shareholders have their visas and employees and substance, etc. And this helps in opening of a bank account. Bank account nowadays, as you know, it's a bit of a hassle around the world. However, in Dubai, if you have a free zone company or LLC, it's very easy to open the bank account, especially if you have a visa and Emirates ID. So in case of the local LLC, this is the entity that allows the easiest account opening. In the EMI of UAE, you can open an account in literally 1 or 2 days. And in the bank it might take a couple of days, but it's definitely worth it. Another form of doing business within UAE are companies registered within free economic zones. There are a couple of free economic zones, and the choice of them depends on the business activity of the company and also about the preferences, and there are plenty of factors to be considered. There are many free zones within UAE. Most of them are around Dubai, but there are also plenty of free zones around Abu Dhabi, Sharjah, Ras Al Khaimah, and in other cities. And you might be asking which free zone is the best to be chosen. The answer is it depends. There are many free zones, and most of them they are designated for special types of business. For example, there might be DIFC, which is Dubai International Financial Center, DMCC, Dubai Multi-Commodities Center, which are designated specifically for financial businesses. They might be free zones such as Ajman or Sharjah or Ras Al Khaimah or Meydan that are good for trading companies, manufacturing companies that offer warehousing and different facilities related to trading. You should also consider the location of the free zone. For example, Ajman is located on the sea, so it has its own port and port facilities. So when you try to establish a trading business that involves warehousing, storing the containers, repacking, transportation of the marine roads, then you should opt for a free zone that is obviously located on the sea with their own port. If you try to do business with aviation, it might be a good idea to register your business in the Sharjah International Airport free zone, and so on. There are plenty of free zones that offer incentives to different businesses, starting with healthcare, going through financial business, trading, logistics, transportation, high-tech, IT. There is Dubai Silicon Oasis that offers also good incentives for different media businesses, and ending on businesses related to cryptocurrency. For crypto businesses, which is regulated within UAE now, there is a specific free zone located in Ras Al Khaimah called DAO, which stands for Digital Asset Oasis. And this free zone offers a bunch of facilities for crypto, blockchain, and high-tech companies. So you can open a crypto exchange there, an ICO, an NFT platform, anything that relates to cryptocurrencies. And I know them personally, and they have a great team that is actually also helping people to do things on the coaching and technological side. So if you go to a free zone in general, you don't only get the facilities. Sometimes you might get the connections, network, people, and all the infrastructure that will help you to start your business in UAE. In terms of limitation of doing business, in some cases, the free zone companies cannot do business within UAE. So in some cases, free zone companies will be used as the local businesses to manufacture something or to provide some services, etc. But you will have to have foreign clients. However, in many cases, it is possible to do business locally via the free zone company. And if you ask us how, we're happy to answer this on the private consultation. In terms of the procedure for the registration of a company in the free zone, this is possible to be done without being a resident, and this is also possible to be done remotely. So a foreign investor coming from Georgia, Poland, Germany, US, etc. can register the company literally in 1-2 days in the free zone, and the people do not have to come to UAE. Some free zones offer possibility to get the visa via registering a company, even for the family of the investor or for other employees. However, it's not obligatory. It comes as an incentive. In terms of costs of having a free zone company, registering and maintenance and getting the license, the cost is a little bit lower than having a local LLC. However, it's a bit higher than having an offshore company. But in general, the costs are very acceptable, and it's again a myth that UAE is expensive for doing business. There are free zones that have sophisticated structures, and yes, there you have to pay maybe 10,000-20,000 euros a year to maintain the company, but there are plenty of free zones that offer more flexibility and actually low prices for incorporation and licensing. So there is a free zone, and there is a facility for every type of business, whether you're a startup or whether you want to open a regulated financial institution. In terms of taxation of the free zone companies, we have made a dedicated video for the corporate taxation and for the individual taxation as well. So we're inviting you to watch the other videos. But long story short, there is a 9% of corporate tax on the level of LLCs, both in the free zone and mainland. However, free zones also offer exempt activities and qualifying activities. So depending on the business activity, you actually might do business with zero tax through the free zone. Now let's describe offshore companies. So what are the limitations and what are the benefits of registering a company offshore? It's not possible to be done in all the free zones. However, there are a couple of free zones like Ajman, Jebel Ali, etc., who offer offshore company registration. And in the past, it used to be perceived as a non-resident entity because it was not subject to tax. Now, technically, all entities should be subject to tax. However, the Federal Tax Authority still didn't issue any guidelines about the taxation of offshore companies. So we are waiting for the answer and for the guidelines from the FDA, and we hope that UAE will maintain no taxation on at least certain activities. But stay tuned for more information. We're recording this video in June 2024. So at this moment, today is exactly 16th of June. We do not know, and all the industry doesn't know, how offshore companies should be taxed. But as I mentioned in the past, they were considered as non-resident entities. Let's see what's going to happen. But the main difference in terms of the possibilities of doing business and limitation is that offshore companies cannot do business within UAE or Dubai or any emirate. So these are the companies that are registered for doing only international business. A very important thing, banking for offshore companies, it's extremely difficult. While opening a bank account within UAE for a company based mainland or companies based in the free zones, it's relatively easy, especially if you have the Emirates ID or visa. For the offshore companies, it's totally opposite. It's almost impossible to open a bank account within UAE. So we do not recommend this type of entity if somebody wants to have decent banking within UAE. However, it might be good for some people who are doing business internationally. They don't want to spend money for yearly licensing, and they want to have a very simplified structure. So this type of business is quite commonly used for foreign consultants. And in this case, where banking in UAE doesn't really allow offshore companies to be onboarded, although technically it's possible, there are plenty of other possibilities on the market. UAE companies in general, including offshore companies, can hold bank accounts in countries abroad. So in Switzerland, Liechtenstein, we can help you to open the bank accounts there, including offshore companies, and we can also guide you in which banks or EMIs to open the accounts. I mean, our clients having lower turnovers have EMI accounts in Lithuania, Belgium, England, etc., and they work perfectly well for offshore companies. I have mentioned a couple of different forms of doing business, so sole proprietorship, local LLC, free zone LLC, and offshore company. And we get this question very often, and the question is which entity I should choose, which free zone I should choose for my business. And of course, in our business, the answer as usual is it depends. There are plenty of free zones that offer different facilities. There are solutions for everything, whether you have a manufacturing business, services, trading, or you have online yoga classes, doesn't matter. We can find a proper setup for you within UAE, so get in touch with us and we'll be happy to help you. So to summarize, as you can see, UAE is a great place for opening your business and for locating yourself in this great place. It offers low taxation, plenty of great infrastructure, and all the facilities that any business needs. So we kindly recommend moving to UAE. We recommend doing business within UAE because it's great. I have experienced this myself. Plenty of our clients experience this, and it's for a reason that half of the world is moving here for doing business. Our office is in Dubai, in Business Bay, so we are welcoming everyone for a coffee. So you can stop by anytime you're here. So for more information about taxation in Dubai, how to do business, which free zone to choose, how to set up a company, please follow our social media, click the link below, and of course watch the other videos on our YouTube channel.